Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be analyzing our Payhip sales data, all right, using a web app. This web app is designed specifically for Payhip users. So if not a Payhip user, this will not be helpful for you. So if you have a Payhip shop, you know that Payhip does provide you some data that you can review on a monthly basis. Let me show you what that looks like. Here is what a typical sales report looks like that you can download. It's a PDF document. This is the one that I downloaded from my demo shop, so there is no information there, but you can use your imagination. It would list the products you've sold here, and here it would list your gross sales, the fees, taxes, etc. So it's kind of helpful information, but you can't really go into a lot of detail. And this is a report that you have to download month to month. But there is another place that you can get sales data from. I'm going to show you in my demo Payhip shop. All right, so here is the demo shop. This is where I downloaded it, just showed you. And you can see that you can only download it month per month. So you can't really review your data for a whole year or 6 months or a quarter, for example. All right, so this is where you would go to download more information. I actually wasn't aware that you could download the sales report from here. So thank you to the Payhip staff that helped me locate this information. All right, so this is where you would go. You would go here and you'll click on export right here. All right. And then when you're here, you can decide the date range that you want to download the information. So if you want to see 3 months, 6 months, last year, or if you want to see this year, for example, you would select custom and just change the dates to this year, like I'm doing. And again, this is my demo shop, so there isn't anything that will be downloaded, but I want to show you the process of collecting that information. So here's the date range. Here, if you wanted to see orders that were completed, refunded, any order status, whatever it is, you can select that. And then you could decide to filter even further, but I'm going to select all products in cart because I want to see all the sales event that happened in my shop. And then you click on start export. All right. So this is the message I'm getting because I don't have any transactions in my demo shop. But if you had transactions in your Payhip shop, you will get a report. Here's an example of what that file would look like. I opened it in Google Sheets. If you want, you can take this information and analyze it further here in Google Sheets. By the way, before you use this file and feed it into any type of large language model, please remove customer specific information. So you would see that this report will include names and emails and addresses. Make sure you delete that first before you use this in a large language model. So what I did was when I opened this file, I removed all that information first. And then I fed this information into Gemini and I asked it to create some type of dashboard that I can use to analyze this data. This web app runs on your browser. It's an HTML file that you save on your computer. You open it in your browser, whatever browser you like to use, whether it's Chrome or Safari, and then you upload the file and it analyzes it for you. So I'll show you how it works. And then we're going to create this together. That way you can have your own version of it to use for your Payhip analysis. Okay, so this is all data that I already imported here. Hit clear, choose file. Here is the demo sales data that I'm using. So I created this demo sales data specifically for this video. So hit open, and that's really all you need to do. All right, so it creates this report where you can see the total number of orders you have, quantity sold, average order value, quantity per order. You can see entire revenue for the year and for the month, the range of revenue here, the day of the week that you have the highest sales. Over here, you can see the list of your templates broken down by the top 20 and bottom 20. And then you can see the distribution of countries. Again, this is demo data. This is not my real customer distribution. And here we have another chart that shows you the distribution by amount spent. This last one is to show you the fees you pay. So we have PayPal, Stripe, and Payhip fees. So it's very basic, but it just gives you a better snapshot of your sales for an entire period. By the end of the year or at the end of a quarter, you can upload that data and see what is doing well and what isn't doing well. I particularly like this table because it shows you your top 20 and your bottom 20. You can use this information to decide what area you need to focus on. After I created this in Gemini, I then asked Gemini to write a prompt for me to recreate this. So that's what we're going to be using to recreate this template. Now, I would say though that because this is a large language model that we're using, it is not always going to be exact. Meaning we're going to use the same prompt, but the web app that is going to create is going to be slightly different every time. It might not even get it right the very first time. So you may have to prompt it to make it fit what you're looking for and to correct it if there are things that are not working. And of course, if there are certain things you want to see, so let's say this revenue by weekday is not useful, you can ask it to remove it and even replace it with something else that makes sense for you. All right, so here is the prompt that we're going to be using. So if I scroll all the way down, you see it's pretty long. This is not the original prompt that I started with. I started with something really basic, and I spent several hours going back and forth until it created what I liked. And then I asked it to give me an updated prompt that I can use to recreate this. So that's why this prompt is very detailed and has a lot of information. But this is not the original information that I started with when I created this web app. All right, so all we're going to do now is we're going to copy this. All right, so the first one we're going to use is Gemini. I do have a paid account, so I have access to this reasoning model 2.5 Pro, and that's what we're going to be using today. If you don't have a Gemini Pro account, you can still try this and you might get similar results. I think that this is better at reasoning out code, so it probably would give me a slightly better result than the default free one. Here's where we're going to paste that prompt. Click right here in the box and paste it. Before I do anything else, I'm going to go to Tools. I want the web app to show up as a preview in my account so that I can see what it looks like and communicate with Gemini to make changes as necessary. So make sure you click Canvas and it shows up right here. So this looks good. All right, this is the entire prompt, and you could open it up even more to see what it looks like. All right, it looks good. So what I'm going to do is click Submit. Now this is going to take some time, probably around 5 minutes, maybe less, depending on how much detail that you have in your prompt. So this is what I was talking about. The preview window opens up, and this is the code part. When it's done with writing the code, this will be activated and you can view what your product looks like. The next one we're going to test out is ChatGPT. Again, I do have a paid account, so I like to use the best model possible when I use it, which is why I switched it to thinking. What I'm going to do is also make sure that I select Canvas. So I have the same code here, and I'm just pasting it and then click send. And then we'll come back in a few minutes and see what's going on here. The last program I'm going to use is Canva. So if you're not aware of this, Canva does have an AI section where you can do a lot of things. So you can design, create an image, and we're going to be using this option right here, code for me. So click that, and then we're going to paste the code. I believe there's a character limit or a word limit with Canva, but what we have pasted right now is within the limit, so we don't have to worry about that. This automatically opens up a preview, so we don't really need to do anything else other than click submit. And of course, this is going to take a few minutes, so we'll come back later and see what it looks like. And again, this goes without saying, I do have the paid version of Canva. I'm not sure if the AI version is available or not for free accounts, so go ahead and test it out. But I think it might be available for free account because it doesn't have the crown here. You see how this has this crown, which usually indicates that it's a paid feature. I don't see it here. So if you have a Canva account, go ahead and check it out. All right, so back in Gemini, here is what we have. So there is this error message here. What I like to do is if it shows up, I try to say fix error. I don't know what the error is. You can see more details here, but what I do is just click fix error. It knows what the error is and is going to try to fix it. But as that is running, you can see it already looks like what I started with. This is nice because this is based on one prompt. By the way, speaking of a prompt, I am going to provide this prompt available to you for free. It will be available in my Patreon account, but the free section. So you can go there and get this prompt and use it in your large language model and create something for yourself. All you have to do is click on my Patreon link, sign up to be a member. I will leave a link in the description box so you can check out my Patreon. All right, so back here in Gemini, we have resolved that error because this area right now doesn't have the message it had before. So the only thing we have to do is test it out to see if it works. If it doesn't work as expected, you can go ahead and chat with Gemini to fix the exact areas that don't work. But what's nice about this is that you're not starting from scratch, because like I said before, it took me several hours to get it to work the exact way I wanted. But if you use my prompts, you're going to get more than halfway there much quicker than I did. All right, so let's click on choose file and test it out. So I'm going to be using the same demo copy here. So double click and automatically it says there's another problem. I don't know what it is. I'm going to click fix error and let it resolve itself. And then in the meantime, I'm going to go to ChatGPT and see what that's looking like. All right, so ChatGPT is still working through the code, and you would know that it's done when this preview button is clickable. So right now it's not clickable. It says the content is still being generated. So we'll come back to this. Keep that in mind. It doesn't always work. From my experience creating these web apps, I think I've created maybe 15 different web apps over the past few weeks. And the worst options has been from ChatGPT. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but I tend to have better results with Gemini or even Canva when it comes to making these web apps. All right, so we're back here in Canva, and Here's the preview. It looks very similar to the one I created in Gemini and the original one that I showed you at the beginning of this video, because we're using the exact same prompt. So it's not going to be identical, but it's going to be very similar because of how specific the information in the prompt is. So we're going to test it out and see if it works. If it doesn't work, we can chat with the AI and it can fix some of the problems that is causing it not to work, because it's not perfect. Even though this is a detailed prompt, it still might have errors with writing the code that it needs to make it work. So we'll click choose file, and here's the file. We're going to use the same one, and actually this is pretty good. Now I do know that some information is missing because it's a little bit different from what we had, but just going over it, you can see that this entire place looks really good. Everything is where it's supposed to be. It's placed these nice icons next to it, so it visually looks really appealing. These graphs, they look like they're correct. It looks like the information is correct here. And of course, you could always double check to make sure. There might be some errors though, because December 2024 shouldn't be here. And again, these errors can be fixed. You just need to prompt the AI to take a look at information a second time in order to fix it. Here I know there are errors for sure because we don't have any product names, right? And I know that this list is a lot longer than this, so there's a problem here. All right, so these charts are okay. I don't like how small they are, but it's something that you can chat with the model and ask it to create something different, but this looks okay. One prompt and you are more than 75% on your way to create something that you can use to analyze your sales data. Let's go back to the other ones and see how they're doing. All right, so back to Gemini. That error message seems to be gone. Now let's try one more time with uploading the file. Again, I'm using the same file, just double click. And that error is showing up again. There might be a problem that is not being resolved. And when I have this, what I try to do is just start over. All right, so I'm just copying the code again, and I'm going to start with a brand new chat and just give it another chance to try from scratch. All right, pasting the exact same code. I'm not changing anything. Go to Tools, Canvas, and submit it one more time and see what happens. All right, so I switched over to ChatGPT. It is done, and you can see this preview button is ready. So let's click and see what we have. Okay, the true test is to see if it actually works. So let's go ahead and choose File, select this file, and actually it looks really good. Everything looks good. I like the icons that it chose. Here it's not using emojis, which Canva tends to use. The charts look okay. There is some padding that it could add here to make it look a little bit better, right? Because this is too close to the edge, but this is something that can be fixed by prompting. Same here. We probably need a little bit more space here, but if you're not worried about the aesthetics, you just want to know the information, you can ignore that and just use it as is. All right, this table looks correct because I remember from the original that I created, it looked something like this. Again, you can sort this information, name by amount or by quantity, and you can do top 20 and bottom 20. It looks like these buttons are working. And then we have our charts here that shows us the breakdown by country, by amount, and the fee breakdown. So this probably needs little to no changes, which is pretty good. So if you have access to ChatGPT, it looks like this prompt is not too much for it. Sometimes ChatGPT doesn't give you the best results, but in certain cases, especially when it's something that's just one tab, it's very simple, it works, right? So this prompt was written in Gemini, and it's funny because we have better results in Canva and in ChatGPT than Gemini, which is what I originally used to create this web app. All right, so we have the second version. Remember, this is the one that we started from scratch. So this is the second opportunity for Gemini to prove itself. So I'm going to click on choose file and fingers crossed, let's see what happens. Double click on the same file. All right, okay, so we have better results. Let's start from the top. It looks correct. Again, you can verify the information here by going to your original CSV file. Because it's already in Google Sheets or Excel, you can add up the numbers just to make sure that these make sense. But this looks good. The icons are nice. We have revenue by month, which looks correct. So it looks like the information might be right, but it's struggling a little bit with the layout because this is supposed to be a table that is right underneath these two charts. But again, if the information is correct and you don't really care about the aesthetics, this is fine. You can stop here. But if you wanted to, you can go a little bit further. And what I'm going to do is show you an example of how you can chat with Gemini to fix it. And then I'll show you how to download this information and run it on your browser. All right, so the thing I want to do is ask it to create this table. So this table doesn't look like it's working. It has the correct structure, the top 20, bottom 20, but there is no information. I'm going to prompt it to recreate the table. All right, so here's what I have written. You don't have to worry about knowing certain technical terms when you're using this to develop your web app. The product table is not formatted right here. And there is no data in it. And also what I'm saying is that this chart right here needs to be next to this chart. The other thing you can do is take a screenshot and let it know exactly what you're talking about. But for right now, I'm going to just use this message, click send, and it will take a few minutes. It will go back to the code and hopefully fix it. So this didn't take too long, probably 30 seconds or so. We're going to repeat the steps by choosing the file and seeing what happens. All right, so it did fix this, right? It put them next to each other, which is correct. And the product table is still not working. So we need to prompt it again to fix this. And I'm going to try one more time just for the purposes of this demo to show you that it can fix it, but you might have to nudge it a few times to get it to do exactly what you want. All right, so what I did was I actually took a screenshot. So that's what I placed here. And I wanted to see exactly what I'm talking about to make sure it understands the problem. So I'm going to try to describe it one more time and see if it's able to fix it. All right, so here is the prompts that I am using to fix it. I am reiterating that the product table is not fixed. It is supposed to be underneath this chart, and it's supposed to contain the top 20 and the bottom 20 products in sortable columns. So we don't have that information now. So I think it's a good idea to stop here. Normally, it's best to fix one problem at a time, but I'm just going to add this to see if it's able to resolve both of them. So click submit and give it some time to go through the process of fixing the code and hopefully resolving the issue. I am going to take this opportunity to mention that I have no experience in coding. I've never written a code before. I have always wanted to, but never really had the time to spare to do this. So there are lots of things that I don't know. I am just learning, and so I cannot answer a lot of technical questions, and I'm hoping that some people that have more experience can chime in if someone has a question related to the technicality, like maybe going directly into the code, right? Because you can go into the code and fix it. I cannot do that because I don't know how to manipulate code. All right, so it is done. Let's see if it resolved one or both of the problems. So let's upload the file one more time. And okay, so it did not work at all. So it's kind of disappointing because this is the one that usually works for me, and this is what I used originally to create this, but it's just not working. You can continue to prompt this to see if it resolves the issue. For some reason it's not doing that, and I don't want to spend the entire video doing this. Another alternative would just be to start a different prompt and see if it's able to resolve the issue better. So hopefully if you do this and it works, let me know. All right, the last thing I'm going to do is to download this app so you can see how it works. Remember how I said this is a web app that works locally on your computer. It is not in the cloud. This is going to be stored locally on your browser. So here is how you would download it. This is for ChatGPT. The process is going to be different for Gemini and Canva. And I'll show you how that works. So click right here, this 3 dots, and we're going to click download. And you can decide to save it wherever you want. I'm going to save it here. All right, the one thing you need to do is make sure that it has .html so that when it's time to open it up, it gives you the option to open it in your browser. So we have the file name here. All the way at the end, type .html. All right, so I have that typed in here, and I'm going to click save. All right, so here is the file right here, the one we just created. I'm going to right click and decide where I want to open it. You can open it in whatever browser that you want. Most modern browsers will be able to run this without a problem. I'm going to use Chrome, so I'm going to click on Chrome. All right, so here's what it looks like. It looks exactly how it looked when we were inside of ChatGPT. Really no difference at all. And we can test it out to make sure it still works by pulling that information, and it works exactly as we expected it to work. So far, so good. So I'm going to close this out. And next thing I'm going to do is show you how to do it for Gemini. Unfortunately, they don't have the option to download it. So what I do is I'm going to open up a text file. So this is a text edit on my computer. This program comes with my computer. So whether you're using Microsoft Windows or Apple products, you should have access to some text program that's able to save information as just plain text. Okay, so in my MacBook it is called text edit. So I'm going to open a new document. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to Canva, copy that code and paste it here. All right, so back in Canva, I'm going to click on show code. All right, and here's the code. So I'm going to copy this. Just click on this button and it copies it. Then I'm going to go back and paste this code in my text box. All right, so here is the text box right here. I'm just going to paste it and we're going to rename it. And just like we did before, we need to make sure whatever name we choose ends with .html. So Canva Payhip code .html, and I'm going to save it right here in my downloads file. All right, and then click enter. All right, and I'm going to make sure it's saved. So you can do Control S or go to File and make sure you click Save. All right, and then I'm going to go back here demo downloads, you can see it showing up here. So at first, it's going to show up as a text file, but if you click on it once, and again, this might not work the same in Windows, but for my experience, it tends to work like this with my MacBook. When I click on it, like I'm trying to rename it and hit enter, it's going to ask me if I want to keep TXT or use HTML. So I'm going to say use HTML, and then now you can see that it shows this Google Chrome icon, and I know that it's actually going to up in Google Chrome. So the same thing, I'll right click, and you can decide to use whatever browser you want. I'm going to use Chrome one more time, click on that. All right, and here's what it looks like right here. Let's test it out just to make sure it still works, and click on this file, and here it is. There's a problem here, and you can go back and forth with Canva and try to fix it. Eventually, things do get fixed. It might just take a lot of back and forth, and I have been able to resolve a lot of issues, even starting to create a web app from scratch and take it to a place that it looks exactly how I want. So don't give up if you try the first time or the second time and it doesn't work. But at least with using my prompts, you are more than halfway there. All you need to do is just make sure that everything looks correct and everything works the way it's supposed to. To copy the code from Gemini is the exact same thing. Here's the preview, here's the code, but you don't have to copy it from here. Go to share, click copy content, and it's going to copy the entire code for you. And then we'll do the same thing we did with Canva, which is open up a new file for your text box, paste the code there, save it as a .html file, and open it in your browser. Okay, so that is the end of this video. I do want to hear from you. I want to know if you were able to recreate this using my prompts. I also want to know what large language model you used and if you were able to get it right the first time, or if you needed to make changes to work exactly the way you wanted it to work. If you know someone that will benefit from this video, share it with them. And of course, leave any questions and comments in the comment section. Don't forget to like if it was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.